day, wherever you are, I want you to understand that your life, your day is going to get better once you say, hey, okay, your life, your day is going to get better once your perception gets better. So as I was uploading content on all three platforms, I had received a download for me to come and do a live video. Okay. And YouTube was the lucky place. Okay. Listen, I want to remind you of something. Some things that people may say to you throughout your life, I want you to understand that it's not personal. You may look at it like it's personal, even if it's people that swear they know you up and down, honey, it is not personal. So I was making videos, and earlier I woke up not too long ago, but earlier I was on TikTok, and it was this other content creator who said that this lady named I think Victoria or something, how she will post 4 to 10 videos every day. And I think back in 2020, and everything, the content creator who was talking about Victoria, she said nothing was off limits, right? Victoria would talk about her boyfriends and everything like that, which by Victoria being consistent, it built trust in her audience. Her audience, they trusted her, right? And also Victoria started getting all these brand deals. And I don't remember exactly the amount that she started earning, but I know it was buco money. Okay. And sometimes in life, you will get all these different downloads, right? Not sometimes, you get downloads throughout the day, right? Your intuition is speaking to you. And as I watched that video, for some reason or another, I started posting content, and I started thinking about the guys who I dated, right? One guy I had relations with, and I never forgot what he had said to me. See, you want to use what people say to you. You want to use that as motivation, as inspiration. Things that people say to you is not always going to be white clouds and fluffy and warm and sweet. Okay. Some things is going to be, in the words of Lisa Nichols, is going to come as sandpaper. Okay. Is going to appear that is so mean. And if you take it personal, then you are stopping yourself from greatness. So I had this guy who I was talking to a few years ago, right? Well, many years ago. And I remember one time I had gave him an ultimatum. And I said, you know what? We're not just going to have relations. It's either we going to be in a relationship or not. Now, what I failed to realize is this. The way you start people, that's the way it ends. Okay. Let me say that again. The way you start people, that's the way it ends. And I remember when I was a kid, my grandmother, she would say things like, the way you start them is the way it's going to end. And it's so true. So I just was thinking, we was having relations. I said, you know what? Let me give him an ultimatum. I'm ready to be in a relationship. And one of the things he said to me, he said, do you hear? Because one day he texted me and I texted him back. I said, listen, if we're not getting in a relationship, I don't want, the friends with benefits. We ain't doing it. And one of the things he said to me, he said, do you hear the way you speak? And I said, the way I speak. The way I speak. And I said, what you mean the way I speak? He said, do you hear the way you speak? And I say, okay. And he said, I wouldn't get in a relationship with you. You talking about something that was like, right? And I was like, I just went off, right? Because I felt like, he was the gift. Okay, honey, let me tell you something. Let me remind you of something. Stop putting people on pedestals. Okay. Stop feeling like these people are better than you. Okay. And I definitely felt that way. My self esteem was low. Okay. You have to stop feeling like people are better than you. And so I never forgot that. But imagine if I would have allowed that to stop me. Imagine if I would have said, oh my goodness. And it was a few times I remember when I started on social media, that memory of what he said, when he said, do you hear the way you speak? That memory came to my mind. And I thought, okay, I thought, oh my goodness, what about the people, what they gonna say, the way I talk, okay? Honey, let me tell you something. Oh, this is the good part. This is the good part. Okay, child, this is the good part. Let me tell you something. You have an opportunity of a lifetime right now. This is like the gold rush. You listening to what I'm saying? Don't you dare allow what a hater has to say to stop you from posting the content. This is the gold rush right now. The thing that is going to, the avenue that is going to change you and your family life. Don't you dare stop what you are doing because of what a hater has to say. They not even on the field, honey. They are on the bleachers. Okay, they not even in the game. And a lot of times they not even on the bleachers, they outside the game. Okay? So don't you dare allow what a hater has to say to stop you from posting anyway. Okay, come on. Don't you dare allow it. I want you to use what people have said to you and bank on it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I want you to use, because that's your superpower. Okay. You didn't fold. You didn't break. You kept on showing up again and again and again and again. You know why? Because you believe in yourself so much. You know why? Because you know it's possible for you and your family. You know why? Because you know that there is a purpose and there is a calling on your life, and God is seeing you through. Okay. If God says you can, oh, chill. Okay. If God says you can, who could say you can't? If God says you can, who could say you can't? I want you to start looking at your life and say, yes, I can. I want you to start looking at your life and say, I'm doing it. I don't care what a hater has to say. And you know what was crazy? This is the crazy part. This is the crazy part. Some of you guys, you won't start doing the thing that you know you have been called to do because you're so concerned on what a hater has to say. You so concerned that people are not cheering for you. You so concerned of people's opinion. First of all, you being in other people's business. Okay? You are being in other people's business. Because by them saying and voicing their opinion, that is none of your business. That's their business. And it's an indication on how they feel about themselves. But there you go, being in a business and taking it personal. And it's not even personal. They just telling on themselves. And that's one of the things that you have to understand. And so another guy that I was dating, well, this guy was actually in a relationship with. And one of the things he said to me, he said, when we would get into arguments, he would say, go read. And I remember I would take it personal, I would take it personal. See, some of the things that people say to you, you need to go back and see, why do you take things personal? You need to face that. 1 second. Amani, I'm doing a video. You need to go back and you need to see, why do you take those things personal? Why do you feel like what somebody has said one time or another that is going to affect anything in your life? Like, is that going to stop anything? What somebody says, is that going to do anything? Well, it will stop something if you believe what they say. And this is the point where, as though, you need to start getting to know yourself. You need to start understanding that if God is with you, who could be against you? You need to start understanding that you are powerful. You need to understand that when people say something about you, it has absolutely nothing to do with you. And you keep on taking it personal and allowing that to stop you. So the guy said, he said, you know what, go read a book. We would get into, altercations, arguments. He would say, go read a book. And I would take it personal. And then I started reading a book. See, some of the things, some of the criticisms that people say to you is actually to empower you. It may not feel that way. It may not feel like it's here to empower you, but I can almost assure you. And I'm not saying, oh, I condone bullying or anything like that. But what I am saying is this: you better take what some certain things that people say to you and use it as an advantage. I started reading so much so that I got out of that relationship. It was the book that I was reading that really put things into perspective. I want you to understand that there's a calling on your life, that you are here for something. And you know what's so crazy? Because I thought about this as I was posting the videos. It's so funny because when you are posting content, let me give you a story real quick before I get into the message. I remember I was watching Bashar. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Bashar work. His name Daryl. His real name is Daryl. He's a channeler. He's do something like Abraham Hicks. And I remember I was watching Bashar. And one of the things, it was a young lady who had called in, and it was on TikTok. The video was on TikTok. And one of the things the young lady said, she said, oh my goodness, I really, really want to do content. I want to make videos. And Bashar said, okay, so why aren't you doing it? And she said, because I'm afraid of what people has to say. And Bashar said, you are afraid of what people has to say. He said, you are very selfish. And she said, what do you mean? And he said, you're selfish. Here it is. You have a gift to deliver, a message to be delivered, and you are holding back. You don't get to hold back. You don't get to hold back on a message because of you scared that someone may hurt your feelings. And no one can hurt your feelings. No one can hurt your feelings. How could someone hurt your feelings? Those are your feelings. And the young lady, and I guess it was a response that she wasn't looking for. And Deborah said, you are very selfish. There's something you're supposed to be doing, and you're not doing it all because of someone else's perception. Some of you guys, you make all types of excuses. You say things like you tired, you don't have enough rest. You say all these different things, and it's all because you are playing it safe in life. But let me tell you something about when you play it safe. You're going to live a basic, mediocre, low-paying life. You have to be willing to come out and play full out, play big. You have to be willing to scuff your knee up, to scuff your elbow. You have to be willing. You can't be allowing what people say to stop you. And the funny thing, I was thinking, and this is the message, the algorithms, okay, the algorithm on these social media plats, they the same exact thing as the law of attraction, okay? When you focus on something and with the law of attraction, when you say, you talk about that job that you absolutely hate, and you keep on talking about it, and you keep on getting the same exact results from it, because the universe is saying, all right, well, if you hate the job so much, why are you giving it all your attention? If you don't like this place so much, why are you constantly talking about it? If you don't like their ex so much, why do you keep on talking about them? If you don't like this person's content so much, why do you keep on showing up on a page so much? And you know what tends to happen? The algorithm, it pushes that person content to you even more. Why? Because you commented on their video. It doesn't matter if you hate it, if you like it, it doesn't matter. If you say you hate the content, but you study watching it, that's an indication that you like it. And some of you, this message, I don't know who this message is for, but this, and this is how it tends to happen with me. When I go on a social media platform, one thing triggers, and then I just get content. You allowing your greatness to constantly keep on passing you by because you don't know who you are, because of your self-image. Start studying yourself. Start looking at observing yourself. What makes you tick? Why do you get upset at those things? When people say certain things, I remember when I was a kid, right? My aunt had custody of me. And when people would say certain things about me, I would always go and run and tell her. And I would be, crying and stuff like that. And she would say, they talked about her favorite thing was this. I mean, it didn't help much with me, right? At that time. But some of the things she would say, I would run to her and I would say, they talking about me, the kids on the block. And one of the things my aunt would say to me, she would say, they talked about Jesus Christ. You think they ain't gonna talk about you? That's what she would say to me, right? And at that time I was a kid. That didn't help much at that time. And she used to say, if they talked about Christ, what you think they're gonna do to you? You know better, okay? And that's basically what she was saying. See, the talk, let me tell you, when you a couch potato, right? When you are not bringing any value, right? And I'm not saying you're not valuable, because honey, most definitely you are valuable. Sometimes you just show up like you're not. Okay, let's be honest. I'm not. Let me tell you something. One thing, I'm not here to walk on eggshells. I don't do this for the likes, for the subscribers. I like those things, and I love you guys, but I'm not here to, so to speak, pussyfoot. I'm not here to play it safe. I'm here to speak truth. Okay. And I understand I may not be everybody cup of tea, and that's okay with me. But I am going to always say exactly what it is. I am going to speak the truth. And I understand some people are sensitive to the truth, and I'm not your cup of tea. I'm just not. Because in order for you to have a breakthrough, is not necessarily going to come through somebody babying you. And in many cases, that's the issue. Being politically correct. That's many cases, that's the issue. Now, it was a message I was about to say. I don't forgot it. Okay. But listen, okay, you are here for something great. You are here for something grand. You are not here to play it safe. You need to get out your comfort zone. Stop playing it safe. Now, if you look at your life and you say, you know what, Dina, I absolutely love my life. I live a basic, mediocre life. I don't do anything, out of the ordinary. I'm just being comfortable. If you like that, honey, then you got to do it. I'm not here to tell anybody how to live their life, but I am here to say, If you don't like your life, then maybe perhaps you should be doing something different. And this was the message, okay? If you're a couch potato, nobody is saying anything to you. They going to, you'll get criticized some every now and then, but for the most part, because you're not making any noise, you're not stirring up anything. So people they don't know you. Listen, if you can't take the criticism, because everything in this here universe is the same, is the opposites, right? Is oh, I'm thinking of the word, is the law of opposites. You're not only going to have love, love, love. There's going to be some hatred that's going to come towards your way. But when you know who you are, and this is the purpose that I study every day. This is the purpose. See, when I listen to personal development, it has nothing to do with no one else. It's all about me. See, in this here life, you're going to have to learn to be selfish. That's the problem. You know why a lot of you guys get walked on or walked over? Because you look at yourself as an ant. You look at yourself as a worm. And what do to worms? They step on them. You want to be a people pleaser. You want to be a nice person. And that's exactly why you keep getting the same exact results over and over. You want to be the type of person, I would give my shirt off my back. Why would you do that? And then you're going to be cold. Why would you do that? I hear this foolishness all the time. And I used to be one of those. And what I mean by that, because I can see, right? What I mean by that is this. You want to stop putting people before you. Why do you keep putting people before you? Because you're looking for something from them. You want them to give you something. That's why you put people before you. Oh, if I give them, if I put them before me, then perhaps they will like me. Them liking you, what is that doing for you? By them liking you, what is that doing for you? Is it changing your income? Is it putting food on your table? Is it helping you take care of your children? Is it helping you take care of your family? Is it putting you closer to God? I just want to know. I just want to know, why do you feel them liking you is going to do something in your life? They like you. Big deal. But when you like yourself, how they say it, clock that T. Honey, clock that T. Okay? When you like yourself, I'm just getting some. I just keep visualizing me and my family, living in a condo. I just keep visualizing this. Okay, when you like yourself, the universe is reflecting back how you feel about yourself. So guess what? If you don't like yourself and you looking for these people to like you and they pretending to like you because you pretending to like yourself, guess what? They only gonna give you what you give yourself. Oh my goodness. If people reflect exactly back to you how you feel about yourself, then it means that you need to start rocking with yourself a little more. In many cases, big more. You need to start looking at your life and saying, you know what, I like me, and that's all that matters, okay? Because you get exactly what you are. And so if you don't like you and you pretending, the people that's coming into your life, they are pretending to like you as well. So do it really make sense to try to catfish it when you can't, in fact, catfish the universe? So it makes sense for you to show up, being your authentic self, because there's a tribe that's waiting for you, and they can only feel you through your vibe. While you are trying to be this image that you're not, it is stopping you. It is stopping you from receiving everything that God has for you. I remember I used to say, I want some real friends, but how could you get there if you being fake? Everything that comes into our lives is mainly a reflection of what we have going on up here. Mindset. What is your mindset? Why don't you believe in yourself? Why do it's so many people that's winning, because I pay attention to the winners. Okay. There's so many people that's winning. Why do you feel like you can't be one of them? You know why? Because you listened to a person that felt like that they were losers. That's why you feel like you can't be a winner. Because if you focusing on what somebody has told you time and time again, and how they perceive themselves and how they look at themselves, guess what? If they looked at themselves as a reject, as a failure, as a loser, as a good for nothing, and you got all of that going on in your subconscious mind, when do you plan on changing it? Do you ever plan on doing something about it? And that's exactly why I keep recommending the books. And I get it. There's so many people that say they want their lives to change, but they're not willing to show up. A book that costs what, like 14, 20 something. I don't care how much the book costs. Why don't you go get it? Your life is not finna change until you change. Your life is not finna change until you change. I don't care how much crying you doing. And these are the things that I used to do. I don't care how much you crying. I remember I would have those moments in those days, and looking back on my life, I'm like, oh my goodness, life is so good. God is so good to me, because I remember those days that I would be up crying, wanting the other people to change. No one ever taught or showed me, Dina, the people that's showing up in your life is all because you wanting to be a people pleaser. The people that's showing up in your life is all because of the way you see yourself. And I was so on the hunt for truth. I wanted truth. I was so eager to find truth. And seek and ye shall find. I wanted to change my life, but I didn't want to change me. How is that possible? To anyone that's out there, that you want everybody in your life to change, you want your mother-in-law, your father-in-law, you want, your husband to change, your wife to change, your family to change, the government to change. You want all these outside sources to change, but you don't want to change. That ain't gonna work. In order for those things to change, you have to change. It's all about perception. And I remember I would be crying, begging and pleading, praying for my life to change. And asking, one of the words that I always, a phrase why am I going through this? Didn't understand that I was in violation of universal law. Not believing in myself. Not thinking that it was possible for me. Because if you paying attention to other people's lives, you gossiping on the phone all day, And you do those things because you want to escape your reality. So you go and try to pinpoint all the things in somebody else's life because, frankly, you don't really care for your life. So I get it. I understand it. You know, once upon a time, I was a hater too. Okay? I was one of those too. But I want you to start understanding that it's possible for you. And I want you to also understand that if you keep doing the same exact thing, and I know you hear this so much, but it's actually the truth. And if you say to yourself, "Oh my goodness, I hear so much," then maybe that's a sign that you should take heed. Those seeds that you plant, and you may say, "I don't care." You know, it's so funny how sometimes people say, "I don't care. I just don't care." And 5 minutes later, they crying. Because everything that you plant in this here universe, a great book is this, the Prosperity Bible. Now, I talk about this book all the time, okay? My favorite, The Game of Life and How to Play It. Now, some of you guys, you know, I had got a message one time. Somebody had said to me, I think it was on TikTok, life is not a game. Well, by you thinking life is not a game, you already lost. And you know what? That's your perception. That's your perception. You think life isn't a game, but life is a game, okay? And you are entitled to be wrong. Now listen, The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Shin, okay? Now this is a very much so thick book, but you got time. You got time. What else you doing with your time? Okay? Time is currency. Time is currency. And you trying to figure out why your income isn't going up. This is one of the reasons. This is one of the reasons. Because you're not bringing any value, in the words of Jim Rohn, to the marketplace. Yes, you are valuable. You may be valuable to your family and stuff like that. But when it comes to the marketplace, you're not adding any value. And that's why your stock doesn't go up. The Game of Life and How to Play It. You see, when I had the ex who told me go read books, and I used to take it personal. And I understanding that everybody that comes into our lives is a reason why they come into our lives. Suppose if he came into my life just to encourage me. You know, there's no good or bad in this here universe. It's just error. You know, because my good could be somebody else's bad. Somebody else's good could be somebody else's bad. But suppose if that was the reason he came into my life. Suppose the person that is saying things and is is criticism. They criticizing you so much that you say, you know what, the hell with this, and you actually start applying that thing to your life. Like when he said, go read a book when we would get into arguments. And then later on, I had a dream about books after I had my spiritual awakening. And in this dream, it was many books on this bookshelf. I done told this dream so many times. And I couldn't make out the names, the title of the books that was on the bookshelves. But it was so many books. And at that time, I don't know if I had one book, because at that time I think it was The Alchemist by Pablo Coelho. About Diego, the shepherd boy, searching for the treasure outside himself, not realizing that the treasure is within. Like many of you guys do. You know, you search for the kingdom outside you. And if you go within and understand that the kingdom is within you, all these things that's outside your existence, the cars, the house, and everything else like that, it will be added unto you. So, getting back to the book. Most people consider life a battle, but it is not a battle. It is a game. It is a game, however, which cannot be played successfully without the knowledge of spiritual law. And the Old and New Testaments give the rules of the game with wonderful clearness. Jesus Christ taught that it was a great game of giving and receiving. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. This means that whatever man sends out in word or deed will return to him. What he gives, he will receive. If he gives hate, he will receive hate. If he gives love, he will receive love. If he gives criticism, he will receive criticism. If he lies, he will be lied to. If he cheats, he will be cheated. We are taught also that the imagining faculty plays a leading part in the game of life. Keep thy heart or imagination with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. What are you imagining? What are you? Are you using your imagination constructively or destructively? What do you imagine about yourself? You imagine that you're a winner. Guess what? You're gonna start showing up. You're gonna start doing the things that is going to be an indication of what you imagine. As a man thinketh, what you think of yourself, and what you do. When you first think of it, you know what? I'm a winner. I deserve to win. Guess what? Your actions are going to be an indication of that. But if you think of yourself as a loser, as a good for nothing, as a reject, and none of those things are true, but they true if you say they true. But in God's eyes, they not true. But they true. The only reason they true because you have this strong connection, this strong this faithfulness. You have this faithfulness of it's true. Even when somebody come and try to say that's not true, that's just a belief. That's not true. And you say it is true because let me tell you who said it. And you fight. You fight for your limitations. You fight for them as if they are improving your life. You fight for them so much that when somebody is telling you there's a better way, there's a different way, you don't even want to hear it because you're so attached to suffering and you're so faithful to suffering that you don't want to hear anything that is going to detach you from your own suffering. So, with that being said, I hope you guys go out and get this book. Okay, wait, hold on, child. Hold on. The book is coming apart, but that's okay. The Prosperity Bible. Okay? The Prosperity Bible. Let me tell you something. You say you want your life to change, you're going to have to do something different. You're going to have to start showing up. It's going to have to look completely different than the way you used to show up. That's the only way it's going to change. You are going to have to renew your mind. Be born again. That's what you're going to have to do. And I know for some of you guys, you just don't want to do that. Okay? Because like I said, you're so attached to your suffering that while, you have this belief system going on that is so it controls you so much that you don't want to hear what somebody else has to say. If they say, oh, go get this book or go listen to personal development, you don't want to listen to that. Why? Because you're so attached to your own suffering. Tomato. You do what works for you, boo. This is your life. You want different, you do different. But don't keep complaining and praying and begging and crying and saying, I want different. No, you don't. Because if you want it different, you'll do different. You can always see exactly if somebody want different. Just look at their actions. Because it's not about what you say. It's about what you do. And with that being said, I love you guys. Peace.